Pixel here with another tutorial for the CryEngine 3, and in this episode I'm going to show you how to make your own custom usable entity. In this example I will use this for an eatable object because I plan to do a little survival game. So if you hover over it and press F, the player eats this object, and this decreases his hunger. So yeah, let's start. If you never scripted anything before in the CryEngine, you want to do something very important. I really had my trouble with it, so go to your game SDK folder. I already did this, so I downloaded a new version to show you the following. Yeah, inside the game SDK, you will find these files, except the game CFG. And these are packages files, and inside these packages are the scripts and all the default objects you can find in the in the entity browser, for example. The problem is, if you want to edit the script, for example, of this destroyable object here, the CryEngine extracts the script for you into the needed folder. But if you edit the script, the CryEngine might still refer to the old one inside the pack, so you might get confused why your code is not working, or you might get weird bugs. So make sure to extract these files and afterwards delete the packages files, so CryEngine is forced to use the scripts you can really edit. So then you have full access, because there are even some files which are not available in the entity browser. For example, the basic actor.lua. We will use this in this tutorial. This is the script for the player. It holds a lot of variables we need, and we want to add some. And this, the player is created on runtime, so you can't find it in the in the entity section in the engine. So that's that. After you've done that, browse to your game SDK folder again. I made a shortcut for this. So and then browse to entities right here, and you will find a lot of files which are which end with ent. So we're gonna make a new one. So new, and then text document, and then I'm going to name this one tutorial end, and then change the file type to ent. Yes, you want to change this. Right now it's empty, so open this up with Notepad. I really recommend this editor. Okay, so this is basically scripted in XML. It's not a real script. You just name the entity and then point to the script path we will add later on. So you can just open up another one, for example this one, copy the lines, paste them, and then we want to call this tutorial end, and the script will be called tutorial end as well. Okay, so when you're done with that, save it, and then we want to make another new file inside the scripts folder. So browse the scripts, entities, no, wait a second. Yeah, sure. Entities, and I made a folder called my scripts, and inside this folder you can make a new one if you want to, or you can just edit another folder. Just make sure you pointed to the path we just wrote into the other file is correct. Otherwise you won't find your entity inside the CryEngine. Alright, so name this tutorial end, and then Lua, because this is a Lua script file. Yes, we want to change this, and then open it up. And I'm also going to open up this usable entity file. This is a file I made before. So copy this, and then I'm going to delete these things, and because this, otherwise the tutorial would be unnecessary long. So we don't even need this. Okay, so I'm going to explain what's what, basically. Every Lua file starts with the name of this entity. So in this case, it's not usable entity, it's tutorial end. So Control F will open this up, and then you can go to replace, then search for a usable entity, and then tutorial end. So yeah, you can just copy what's on my screen, but if you ever have, if you ever want to duplicate a script, make sure you rename every name. Okay, so usable entity tutorial end. So replace all. Okay, that's fine. So now, yeah, it should work already, but there is something missing. But first off, after you wrote the name, then open up the properties section, which is excuse me, which is visible in the editor on the right-hand side. For example, if I add this destroyable light again, you will notice this property section. So everything what's in here is also in here. So object model, this is the 3D model which holds the model. And then make sure to write object and then underscore and then whatever you want that model makes sense. So object is a prefix the CryEngine recognizes, so it knows this is a 3D model and this is the path to this model. I added the food value. This is the value that's added to the hunger, or this is subtracted from the hunger. This little f declares this food value as a float, so I also could call it integer for as a little e, so small e. But with an integer you can't type something like this because an integer is always a how can I say this, a full number, so make it a float. So b is boolean and s is string. B usable equals 0. I put everything to 0 here because I get weird bugs if I don't do this. Sometimes it does not really update the functions or something. This is very weird, I don't know why, so I just leave it 0. But in case, in fact, it's 1 later on, but we can change this in the engine because it gets display and we can change it. But anyways, so boolean usable equals 0 and then string use message equals use. In this case it's maybe not use, it's maybe 8. In this case I don't have to type in a small s before the use message because this input already declares this use message as a string, but just for the structure I'll leave it like this. So after that, open new sections called physics, and inside this you have to declare some things. These are required values: rigid body active, resting, density, and mass. So for example, this will declare if it's 1, the player can't go through it and stuff like that, and the weight of this object. So I put everything to 0, set everything to 0 as well, and then close this physics section and close the properties. And now this is only for the editor, so this is not needed for the game as it is, but for example you can set an icon in this in this case it's item.pmp. There's an icon folder inside the CryEngine folder. You can add new ones if you want to. These are these little icons you can see if you add a property, for example, an entity, excuse me, for example this item. So you can't, it's a lot easier to click the entities. Alright, by the way, we can delete this destroyable light. Anyways, then icon on top equals 1. This is a boolean, so 1 is true. That will, this is necessary, that so the icon is always on top of the object. And after this you can close the properties section. I assume that you know programming languages like Java or something else, so you might want to know why is he closing this bracket? Shouldn't be at the very bottom. No, this is only for the properties. And Lua, the rest goes with function and then end in the end. So close this here. Make sure these are commas and this is a semicolon. Semicolon means a full stop in this case, and the comma means okay, we want to add something else. So just here semicolon. Okay, so the property section is closed. Then we want to add make usable and then the name of the entity. So in this case tutorial end. This will declare this entity as a usable object. So there are some things you can call now, like is usable or unused and stuff like this. We will add this in a minute. Then the onInit method. This is called once the level is loaded. And yes, then it's called self on reset. So on reset is down here. This basically resets the entity, so that's very important. Even on property change, which is for the editor. So if I change any of these variables, it will reset the whole entity. So here's the on reset method. It will reset the variables, and yeah, for the first time, it will search for the properties for the object model, and it will check if this is an empty string, which is not in this case. But in case you leave this out and you say, yeah, load the model, and there is no path to a model, the game will crash. So to protect yourself from a crash, you just insert this method. It checks if the object model is an empty string, and then if it's not, which is this, is not, then self-load object, and this is just a regular term. I found this on the FreeSDK website. I don't know really what the 0 is for, but just leave it 0 and then point to your object model, which you declared over here. Then end this if section, and I made a, yeah, there's a, I don't really made it, but there's a method called physicalize this. So if you want to make it a really a physically displayed object, you have to call this, and then down here physicalize this is again, or a default term which makes it physics like. So yeah, okay, so this will be a static object, but anyways, you can add this to your entity if you want to make it physically. Then I already explained the on property change method. Again, it's when you change something in the editor, and now our object is usable, but the game won't recognize if we hover over it, or it does not know what we want to do if we pick it up or if we use it. So we want to add some functions. So these are three functions we have to add. So I'm going to type them in now. So tutorial end, then in brackets, no, of course not. It's first, yeah, sure, is usable. Okay, and then user ID. So the user ID is the ID of the actor, basically. We will use this ID later on. And then we want to return 2, and then this method ends. So return 2, there are more than one case, I think, but if it returns a 2, it is a usable entity, so we can use it. It's just like this. This is a magical number the CryTech team added so to declare that this is actually usable. So after this, we want to add another function. This is the most important function. In this case, it's tutorial end and then on used. So this is what happens if you use the entity. This says, okay, it is usable and displays our use message. And if we then use it, this tutorial, this method is called onUsed, and then we want to add user ID and the index. I don't really know what's index for, but anyways. So just to check it, we will log a message to the console used. Alright, then user ID on eat. Oops. And then maybe 20. I will explain this in a second. Alright. And then end. Alright, okay. So if we use this entity, the console will log this used because there's no debug function in here right now. So this is a very good way to display some errors, so you can check if methods are working or not. And then I already typed this in, user ID on eat. I made a mistake here, it should be this. Alright. This calls the method inside the player, which is not set yet. Well, it is set yet because I already scripted the usable entity before, but in your case it shouldn't be added. But we're going to add it there in a minute. So this on eat is basically the player eats, and this is the the food value. So you can also say a self dot properties, and then food value. Okay, so this will this will call this method and provide the food value from this entity. And then another important thing is the actual use message we get in the HUD. So there's another function for this. So it's again tutorial and then the function is called get usable message index, and then I think it is if self dot properties. Well, make sure to make this a capital P always, because it's capital here as well, otherwise it won't work. Then be usable equals 1. Then return self.properties, and I believe it's as a use message end. Oh no, there's something missing. Oops. It's else return message. In this case, you can call it whatever you want. So let me explain this. It checks if the item is really usable. Maybe in some cases you won't make it usable or not usable yet. So it will check if it's usable. So if it equals true, which is 1 in this case, then it should return our use message, which is eat in this case. If it's not usable, you can display something else, for example, not usable. That does not really make sense at all, but yeah, it's just like that. So this should display our eat message if it's usable, and we can change this to is not usable. Alright, so now we added everything that's necessary for this. So save your file, make sure you save often. And now our entity should be available in the entity section. Wait a second, for now we won't do this where it is. Hello? It's down here, sure. No, it's not. What? Am I blind? Yeah, sure, here it is. So we want to comment this out. Okay, so now it's usable, and when we go in game, it should display our eat text. So my scripts, reload this. Why isn't there a usable entity, tutorial entity right now? Okay, that's confusing. Tutorial and maybe I typed something wrong. Tutorial and excuse me, I'm going to check this. Tutorial entity, add with notepad. Tutorial and lure. Oh yeah, sure. So it scripts my entities and then my scripts. Yeah, don't make mistakes if you copy a code from another script. This was the wrong direction. In others, there, of course, there is no tutorial end.lua. It's in my scripts. So, all right, save this, reload this. What? Okay, now my scripts. Scripts, entities. Excuse me, these are really bad mistakes I made here. Entities. Well, no. It is scripts entities. Well, isn't it? It's scripts entities, my scripts, tutorial, and .lua. Yeah, that's correct. So scripts, entities, my scripts, tutorial, and .lua. The entity's name is tutorial, and yeah, that should be perfect. Why isn't this working? I'm going to start up the engine again. Maybe this is the answer. So open up the editor. Ba-ba-bum. Test world. So usable entity. This is the one I made before. My scripts. Yeah, that is the tutorial entity. Seems like I have to restart the engine. All right. So let's put this inside the game, and you will see there is no model right now. Whoa! And this is because we have an error. And line 69. 69, we don't even. Oh, sure. If it's return blah blah blah, blah and all right. So I missed this one. Reload. So there we go. This is our model. This is the ugly cube I made in my Blender tutorial. And now let's just jump in game. Control G. And there we go. We get a message is not usable. I hope you can see this. Make sure to watch it in 1080p. So yeah, right now it's not usable. Let's change this. We don't have to script this. This is because we have our properties section, which is not listed here. And why is it not listed here? God damn it. These are the weird bugs I told you. Tutorial. Let's just replace it. Sometimes if there's an error inside the script, it gets very confused. So there we go. The food value. That's so annoying. I mean, if you're not used to the bugs of the CryEngine, you're just like, what? What am I doing wrong? But yeah, just restart your engine a few times and then you should be good. Okay, so the food value, and it's not usable, but now it's usable. At the use message, we don't want to type in anything there. So it's basically it's eat because we put it right here. I don't know why it does not display use here, but anyways. So yeah, let's jump in game, and it says eat. And if we press eat, it prints out used in the bottom left corner inside the console. See lure, used. So that works fine. If you press F, you can use, and you can't use it now. Now you can use it. All right. So we want to make something if we use this entity, of course. So let's do this in the basic actor.lua file. We are almost, it's almost half an hour now, but okay. I'm going to speed this up. Go into your entities, no, into the scripts direction, and then scripts, then what was it again? God dang it. Entity, AI, no, actor, and then you have the basic actor.lua file. Open this up, and yeah, that is a very, 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 very long file. And now we want to add something to it. So let's search right here under damage. So it's basic actor, properties, and then here's the health, and the water, and the hunger. And yeah, health is there by default, but I also added water and hunger. So there's no water and hunger inside your script. I already added this before, so yeah, add water or at least hunger, at least one of them, and then scroll down, and then we have this little function here, basic actor on eat. This is the function I mentioned before. So it expects a value to be given. So this is what we did before. We provided this 20, or in fact the the properties food value. So we want, this is not a comment anymore. So now on used, the method gets the user ID from the current player who used this entity, who presses F, and then with this user ID we can call the onEat function in basic actor, because the user extends, or is an object from the basic actor.lua file. So we can call it by just like you normally call a method in Lua, with a user ID and then onEat, and then in brackets the parameters you want to provide. So in this case, the food value. And in basic actor, it gives it expects this value, and right here it logs eat. So you can type log, or you can type system log. This is basically the same, by the way. And just to make sure everything works fine, we also want to log system.log, and then it's toString, because you can't just log no strings like in Java. You have to call the function toString and then value. All right. So this should this should print out first used, then ate, and then the value. All right. Just refresh this, and then unfortunately we have to restart the engine because you can press select reload scripts, but somehow it does not really reload the basic actor script. So you have to restart the engine, which is very annoying. I don't know if there's a solution, or it's a bug again with my engine. I don't know what's going on. So this is the item BMP, by the way. So it's on top of the object, like we told the entity to. Yeah. So here, reload the script, jump in game, and now it should print out used, eat, and then the value. So it says eat and is not usable. So press F, and it says used, but not eat. Why? System log eat. Basic actor on eat. That's fine. User ID on eat. I don't know, maybe this changes something. Reload the script on game. Now it works. Okay, there's something wrong with the property. It seems like, at least. Okay, so that works. So used, and then eat, and then 20. So this works great. So we should be able to change this. And then we load the script and go in game, and now it should print out 56. So 8. Oh, it's trendy again. Why? I don't know. But as you can see, these are some minor bugs. Yeah. Anyways, I think there's something wrong with the property. This is again one of these weird bugs. I think I left something up, but normally if you change this value here, it should reset. It should call the onProperty change on reset, and it should update it properly, but it does not. I don't know why. Anyways, yeah, that's basically the tutorial. I hope I could help you with it, and yeah, thanks for your attention. If you have any questions, just post them in the comment section. If you're looking forward for some other tutorials, I'm very new to make tutorials. Then just yeah, um, tell me what you want to see. I just started learning the CryEngine basics and basic scripting, so I can't make really pro things, but I think I'm going to show how to make an OE, which a HUD with Adobe Flash and so on. So yeah, stay tuned and see you. Bye.